in. Not on my little chin-chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. Then I'll kick you in the snout and I'll knock your teeth in. What? Hi everybody. This month we had such a fun Twitchcast that made me feel like singing. When it was over, I didn't want it to end. A lot of people felt the same way and thought it was too short, but I assure you it was over an hour long because I just edited it down to 35 minutes. I'm not going to keep pausing the video to interject my own comments because that would make the video longer. Instead, I'm going to put my thoughts and comments up there, in those purple thought bubbles. If you find my thoughts and comments annoying, just scroll up until you can't see them, until the top of your browser blocks them out. That was me singing, by the way. You can buy my latest record on Apple iTunes. Just kidding. I wish. Anyway, let's get started.
Yes.
I'm Margaret Crone. I'm the community marketing lead here, and I will be acting as your host for the live stream, wrangling these people in.
Yay.
Mostly Steven.
Wow! That was some shade!
I'll leave you an umbrella. No,
Okay.
who are you?
I am Steven Sharif, creative director at Intrepid Studios.
Yeah.
And I'm Jeffrey Bard, lead designer of stuff.
Yay!
Yeah.
Lead designer of
Sorry, my
design.
brain's like over
You're
here
like
somewhere.
lead
Many
designer
designs.
of stuff. Oh, goodness. We all need our coffee. That's what honestly
that's
needs
true.
to happen.
Bewildered.
I'm Devin LaFontaine. My job title is Senior Environment Artist at Intrepid Studios. Most of what I do here is focused on natural environments, so terrain, trees, grasses, that kind of stuff. I also deal a fair bit amount with lighting and also technical kind of process stuff that we do in the background to support the whole art team. The housing tool was designed mostly originally as a way to make houses quickly and make them run really well. And we identified some ways in Apocalypse that we could have improved the way the buildings were set up. And in doing all of the performance improvements that we ended up doing near the end of that project, I learned a lot of things about how we can improve that going forward. So the housing tool is focused a lot on that and also making it easy for the whole team to build a bunch of buildings because we're going to need many buildings for the nodes.
Ashes of Creation is a very large and ambitious project. We have 9 different races that need to be represented from an architectural standpoint in each of the nodes. As players move throughout the world and establish these cities, you're going to see manifested in real time each of these cultures in some way, shape, or form. In order for us to accomplish the creation of these vast cities and multitudes of buildings, what Devin's been working on with this tool really allows the artist to swap in different modular pieces to create diverse and unique buildings within the node system. Now, obviously, this tool doesn't accommodate all of the features we want to see from an architectural standpoint in the cities. There are still going to be need for one-offs and custom created assets that represent perhaps the central building within a city or the unique social organizations that exist. These will still need to be completed separate from a modular set.
So one of the things that I learned when building all the POIs in Apocalypse was the quantity of items that we had to render. And it was pretty expensive, and there's a lot of technology in Unreal that helps reduce that we wanted to start using more for the MMO. So the housing tool is very heavily reliant on some of that tech. So the first thing it had to do was be performant, so it could render lots and lots of buildings pretty easily. It also had to be easy to manage for the art team and the artists building the pieces that comprise a finished house. And it also had to be easy for anyone on the team to use. The designers could use it and not really have any headaches or any confusion as to what they're doing. The one thing I really like about working on these games is watching players discover them. So I'm really eager for the community to hop into the game and see all the stuff we've been doing, because it's really fun making it, and there's a lot of cool stuff that we want to share.
One of the paramount goals at Intrepid is to create the ultimate immersive experience where players, as they explore and search the far reaches of Vera, they get to experience this vast diversity and culture through the different cities that they'll come across. Really putting the players in the story, making them feel a part of the world. That's one of our primary objectives.
Well, we hope that you all enjoyed that, and Devin did an amazing job. He's very nervous. I feel like
Thanks, Devin.
Everyone's always so nervous, and I'm like, it's gonna be fine.
I
It's
thought he
gonna
did
be
great.
good.
He's the
Yeah.
chillest cat in the world.
Yeah.
People constantly are like, he's like Bob Ross, because he's like has that really like chill voice, you know.
Oh,
He's a
yeah.
very
Calm.
calming presence.
Yeah, but he speaks well, I think, and you know, he loves what he does, and
He's damn good at it.
yeah, I mean, looking at the environments that we have right now and seeing how beautiful they are, I think he does a really good job with what he does. Obviously, we wouldn't have him here otherwise.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to work with Devin for like a really long time, like 13 years.
Yeah, you guys were at
So-
SOE together, right?
Yeah. So he's good people. So let's talk a little bit about the building technology tool. And if you all have questions in chat, you can go ahead and toss them in there. You can ask us other questions. We'll try to answer those as well. But we did talk a little bit about the MMO earlier prior to that. So I don't know if you want to start or if you want to start.
Sure. I mean, so one of the great things about, that tool and what the environment team, is creating in Ashes of Creation, I mean, you guys see the environments within the game, right? And that's all in-game footage, everything you're seeing there, or it's an editor, right? The building of the actual asset
Which is
itself,
effectively in-game.
Which is effectively in-game, correct. We definitely are pushing the limits, I think, and Unreal Engine is a great engine to help us do that. What we want to be able to do is make sure that we can create in a timely manner, all the necessary assets that have to go into creating these nodes, these cities, right? And we don't want them to feel like a lot of the other games that we've played as players where we see the same asset over and over again, right? And that kind of gets unimmersive, when you see the same building over again. And we understand why it's done. I mean, in the past, there wasn't quite the... there may have been the technology to achieve what we're achieving now, but there wasn't the time or just general understanding on how to accomplish that, a while ago. Now we can, with, the expertise of people on our team, create a tool that's capable of allowing the artist to quickly come up with a wide range of buildings to fill these
And
cities
easily
with.
adjust them too.
Right.
Or if we get new assets, being able to plop them in wherever they feel necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, we're building a big world, and we're building a world that grows on its own, right? And so we need lots and lots of assets to fill that world. And if each artist has to create, their own stuff from scratch, from the ground up every single time, we'll be here until 2030, right? Like that would be how we'd have to do it. But technology like this allows us to just pop things out at a really high quality level just as quickly as we can, which is, it's how we get to a timely launch and how we get to, kind of our goals.
Yeah, and part of that actually, as it relates to a player and housing that might exist on freeholds or within the node, we can take elements of this tool, this tech, and we can allow the players to play with specific constraints, right, within the building systems that they may have. Change out the windows, change out the roof, change out the gutters along the sides, the crown molding inside the interior. Change
Doors,
out exactly.
yeah.
Change out aspects that kind of make it unique and allow you to customize something that kind of represents your specific style, or just sets you apart from the norm, right?
You can do your own interior decorating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in regards to that, I think a lot of people do already have some skins that they've either purchased or things like that. And I don't know if you all want to talk about a little bit about how that can integrate into these, or will those just take over the entire skin of the entire house lot?
Right now, they would take over the entire skin of the house.
They're not separate little
they're
pieces.
not individual modular pieces. They're not built that way. And again, that's sort of so we can get that effect, right? Like a necromancer's crypt looks a very specific way, and we want it to look as a very specific way. So
now that's not to
I just
say
wanted to
that
ask the question.
that's not to say now that the environment team, as they're building the necromancer's crypt, that they're not going to compartmentalize pieces of it that could then be
reused somewhere else.
Right? That's kind of the approach on a modular system, where when you're creating an asset, you're not one-offing the entire asset. You're creating it to the confines of the modular system so that you can reuse those elements elsewhere that won't represent a necromancer's crypt again, but instead may use the window seal of it, or may use the gargoyle on top of it, something like that.
And when you go back and you look at the video, and we'll see that coming up here soon as well, is you see all the pieces that Devin was panning over. He was kind of showing off some of the differences and like all these little tiny pieces that are all making these complex systems. Like right here, you're watching him build, and he's adjusting the roofing and adding little windows in the shingles. Like there's all kinds of little tiny intricate things that he's doing very, very quickly, and allowing us to have so much variety. I mean, we have so many nodes that need to be built, and especially if we want you to make it feel like every single time you go and create a new city that it's different, that this is accomplishing that goal.
Right. I mean, I guess you'd want to think about, as a player, when was the last time you played an MMORPG that had 9 unique, distinct races in it, right?
Yeah.
I personally can't think of many.
I can think of a few. But...
I can think of a couple, but not to the degree I think of distinction that we're aiming for between our 9 races, right?
Yeah.
That's really.
Here's the panning over of them.
Yeah. So what you're seeing here is the modular set, right? So these are the individual components that make up the modular capabilities of this tool, and once you plug those into their specific categories, you can swap them out with other components. Yeah.
Any other things that players will experience? Like, how are they going to experience this beyond seeing buildings in the world? And obviously, player housing will have an element of this, but not as intricate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's really more about. I mean, this tool is mainly for us to develop the game, right? Mm-hmm. So what this tool allows us to do is have tons and tons of different variants, right? Where, we work from a base tile set basically, and then create a ton of different things. So the longer that this tool works and the, the more we can pull out of it, the more variants and the more interesting things you'll be seeing in the world.
And one of the things I think people don't think about is performance, and how having all these unique pieces affect performance. And so that was one of the main key goals with this tool, is in order to allow us to have this variety, but also still make sure that the game performance is still really good for you all, so that you can play it on ultra graphics and not feel like it's your CPU's like help and sounding like that PC over there.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys
can't hear that.
That's a really great point, Mark. Like there is, when you're creating one-off assets, each one of those one-off assets kind of needs to be loaded into memory like on its own, right? Yeah. But since these are all sort of tileable tile sets, they kind of all share the same. They share the same.
What do we say?
I don't know.
Material,
texture. No, it's the same resources, right? So it's the same resources to create, 12 different houses with this tile set is about the same as it would be for one of those houses. So, when you're running into a new area and you've got 100 buildings being loaded at the same time, because they all, depend on the same resources, it's all really quick. Mm-hmm. Whereas if it were 100 different unique sets with different unique textures, all that stuff would make your system chug.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of this too is, what you're seeing here is Devin is creating this, but we also have a process that lets it automatically do that, which isn't as cool to see, obviously, but procedurally creating some of these houses, right? So that it's not just someone going in and tweaking every little bit and piece. So it's procedurally creating a house, and then they can go back and tweak
adjust
things
stuff and make it, artistic.
So that allows our team to work really quickly. And one of the things that Devin had mentioned, and I think was one of the key things, is that it's not just artists going to be using this tool. This is going to be our design team, who are not artists, who don't have the expertise in the tools that our artists do have. And
I can't use ZBrush.
And being able to create something from that.
Yeah, no, and it's like, I need a one-off house for a quest. and I need it in this area, and I need it to look a certain way. Hey, environment team, can you build me a house? No, we don't have time. We're working on these other things.
That's what he thinks you sound like, environment team.
And then I can go in and be like, okay, I'm going to make my own house. And I make it and it looks cool. And, it takes me 10 minutes and I've got a house. And then I can put it in the world and then I can use it, which is really cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of another thing to think about, the reasoning behind this. And it's been really cool seeing how I think Devin and Tad are really... you have a lot of people who are creative artists, but also have like this logical, systematic background and mindset. And I think watching them utilize these aspects of themselves and creating tools has been really exciting for me personally. Getting to see them do something they're really passionate about and thinking about the longevity of the project and how much further we have to go,
right.
And how quickly we need to.
One of the awesome things, obviously, is seeing these guys with their vast experience.
So our next question is from Diggs. We get to hear from Diggs often. A clarification asked for on the forums is whether the building's mayor/governments choose to build appear in between stages, or if they only appear after the node pops to the next stage.
They appear in the stage that you construct them in. So let's say we're stage 3 and we're building a library. It will appear in that stage if you guys fulfill the requirements for building.
Right. Yeah. So basically, the mayor makes this choice. There's a period of time between that choice being chosen and it actually appearing as a building site, right? And that building site will then have some specifications and requirements on behalf of the populace, the citizens, and even outside non-citizens, if they want to participate, to achieve construction.
Right.
Yeah. And that all occurs within
But yeah,
the
you
stage.
don't have to wait for it to go to the next level to see the results of those buildings.
To upgrade to the next stage of each specific building. For instance, like the college moves up until it's a university, right? At the different stages. But that is specific to a stage.
So
that would be different.
That's the main building. The main building is different. That's not a mayor-elected construction site. The main building will automatically progress with each stage development.
Okay.
I think the question was more in reference to like the mayor has choices on building sites of like specific like a build apartments or build a shop or whatever.
Gotcha.
Then he can elect that construction site to be.
Perfect. So the mayor would be the one.
Right.
Good question. Mick McCrackasaur wants to know how much creativity... Hey, I don't name these people.
I like it.
How much creativity can players have in their own building creation, or will it be auto-generated based off of the nodes?
So if you're talking about
Node-based,
freeholds,
yeah.
Which is what I assume you're talking about, there's a decent amount of it. Again, the whole freehold system is about sort of your plot of land. It's not a housing system, right? It's like a building system. And you get to slot and play Tetris and try to find good synergies between the different buildings you have with kind of the end result that you want. If you want it to be a role-playing area, or if you want it to be, a processing area, or if you want to build a factory. Like,
exactly. I was just going to say, like, you don't actually have to build a house. You could decide to build, like, I want to be a blacksmith. Yeah. I want to be the blacksmith, and that's my main focus. So all the things that I'm going to build are going to help make my blacksmithing better, right?
And I'll have my house in the apartments of that node or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But from a customization standpoint, right? Like part of what this building tech you just saw in the video is the movement towards us allowing players to customize specifics within those buildings.
So my blacksmith might look different than your blacksmith, right?
And give you that identity, not just from, this is Margaret's freehold, but from like, oh, that's Margaret's blacksmithery, right? Like I can tell this building is unique because of the accents that she's chosen from, the potential customization on these buildings.
The actual layout of it will remain the same, right? The layout won't change because the layout's important for the synergies to work together. But in terms of like the detail work and the furniture you place and kind of the wall paneling that you have and all that stuff will be swappable.
Awesome. I'm going to spend so much time doing that. It's going to be great. And then I'm going to make armor and murder everyone. I'm just kidding. Wow. Rabbit Games wants to know, will there be any race crossover for buildings? Basically, a way for architects to show that a node is made up of as many elves or as dwarves. Ooh, interesting. So I think each node is going to be
The node will
specific to a race.
the node itself will be specific to a race.
Yeah.
One race will be ascendant, and that will be the kind of culture of that race.
Ascendant race.
The outside, like again, the freeholds that you're building outside can be, accented based. You don't have to stay within your race in terms of accenting. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So yes, you could make that kind of give the feel of it, but the node itself always looks to one race as being that ascendant.
Right.
But your freehold, you can choose what you want
Right.
it to look
Yes.
like. It does not have to match the node.
Right.
Correct.
And you could have a crypt there if
you
that's
want.
what you choose.
A crypt.
It will be very interesting. Our next question is from Crystal Surface, who wants to know, are there any plans for maybe giving access to the building creation tool to other users? Maybe the community can also do some individual designs which can be used by Intrepid. I'm thinking of community building challenges, for example. I think I did something like this at another company that I worked at.
That would be cool. I mean, it obviously it requires us,
That would be really hard to do.
playerizing the tool, right? So taking it out of the editor and putting it into a module, a module that the
Its
player
own-
can download its own, kind of like a character creation suite.
Its own app, yeah.
It would have to be a building creation suite. If there is time and there is, interest from the community, which I imagine there would be, it would be great to have. I think it would be really cool. You can do contests with it and create buildings, and we could use those buildings in game and stuff like that. That'd be awesome. But right now, that's not on the roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might
It
also
would
be...
take some doing to turn
Yes.
that into that.
Okay.
The corrupt-
L Symphony wants to know, so we can or can't build houses from scratch?
You cannot build houses from scratch.
At least not from launch.
You can use pieces to accent them. You can change a lot of stuff about it and sort of like how it's built, but the buildings themselves will have their own footprint.
Yeah, you'll get a blueprint that you can utilize that you put on your plot. Yes, and then you can accent that with different other buildings
Right.
and attributes and things of that sort. Hopefully that answers your question. Christia, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, wants to know what housing/decor editing features will be available in Ashes of Creation. Specifically, one, will players be... I'm going to ask each of these separate. Will players be able to rotate decor in all three directions?
Yes.
They should be.
Yes.
That would be weird if we didn't.
Right.
2, will players be able to free place items and enter specific coordinations on the XYZ plane, including the ability to place decor up in the air without anything underneath them? Ooh.
Probably not. I don't know about the XYZ.
It would be nice if it could.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That
It's a different.
In EQ2, I'm letting you know, people built some crazy stuff out of weird things.
Oh yeah.
Like they built
Oh my gosh!
Shutters.
Margaret.
They also
Do we
They
have
also
the
built shitters,
adult
though.
setting on for the stream?
They also built toilets though, but they built
Wow.
like shutters out of like weird pieces,
Oh
like
my
chopsticks, and like
gosh.
they put plates like
Oh, yeah,
at a
no,
weird
those guys were
angle. Like,
super
I'm
creative.
just like, what?
super creative with their toilets.
Yeah,
The toilet.
I was talking about shutters.
Sure you were.
Oh, no. Oh my gosh. Okay, next question. So our answer is yes, right?
So yes
Or maybe for the other
Yes
one.
for the free placements. We don't know about the XYZ.
Floating objects. Makes Steven feel uncomfortable, apparently.
Yeah. Wow.
No, I'm just kidding.
No. I think it's great.
So-
I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, it's just it should be pretty doable, but it's just about like what the knockoff effects of that are.
And you'll have a max height ceiling on your plot land too, right? Like you can't go beyond that on your
Yeah,
on your free.
there'll be confinements. Too.
Yeah. And then our third question here is, will players be able to scale the size of decor? And if so, will size scaling be limited to a specific size range, like in Rift, or have an essential unlimited? I think they're all specific, right?
Yeah,
Because
they'll be
that's
specific.
part of the
Scaling
tech
gets
thing.
weird. Weird stuff happens when you scale objects beyond what they're supposed to be at. It's something we'll have to look into. We'll certainly explore that
Because that
we can
changes
get-
textures and animations too on objects if they.
and we can get more use out of objects if we can scale them. But obviously, there definitely will be constraints on them. There will be things that we don't want to go beyond a certain size.
Yeah, I think internally we can do that
Yeah,
for sure. Because I've
It's super easy.
messed around with some stuff before.
It's just a matter of like making sure
I've
that
made
it
a
all
giant
looks good and
creature
all
once.
looks.
Yeah, we want to make sure that
Yeah.
things make sense
Yeah.
from an immersion standpoint as well. Like, we want these assets to exist within certain confines so that they represent what they're intended to.
Well, and my thought was like the way that the freeholds work in general is that they're very much like your job is to put things in a space. So if things got bigger than that space, then you would not be able to place them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because the power will change them too.
And we also have to worry about collision and all that stuff.
Yeah. Blamey wants to know, to what extent the buildings will be destructible during the siege? Completely.
So I think there's actually a
Right.
video that you're going to be showing sometime in the future.
Sometime in the future, yes.
Yes,
They're
about-
finalizing some of the tech for it. I think we were wanting to tease it before, but we still have to make sure that everything
We have
works.
open
Performance,
questions.
yeah.
Yeah.
Performance is our main thing. So if we show you something really cool, we don't want you to be like, yes, that's happening, and then we find out that performance-wise, that specific way is just not going to happen. So
And part of that comes down to really replication of that destruction physics to other clients on the server, right? If you have to make sure that, you know, a piece of the building that falls impacts and hits somebody, everybody needs to know where that piece is falling.
oh
which
my
means
gosh,
have
you need to be able to
And if there's
run, you can
thousands
hear
of
it
them.
and
coming
if there's
down. yeah.
thousands, exactly, then it becomes a little bit of an issue. So that's something that we're working on. But yeah, so destructibility of buildings, yeah, it's completely destructible.
On my tombstone, got hit by a piece of rock.
Did not see it because did not replicate.
So I guess, do we want to talk any bit further about that, like how the extent of buildings being destructible? Like
so
what is
when we're
our
talking about-
what we want versus like
Yeah.
where we're currently at?
So I mean,
right?
there's two prevailing thoughts when it comes to destruction, right? The first is the way it's traditionally been done is that you have a building mesh, right, and the building has hit points, and you incrementally set a period in where you swap that mesh out for a further destructed state based on the hit point degradation that the building has. We've seen that in a lot of games we played, you know. And in Lineage 2, I remember always seeing, you know, the side of the castle wall as it took damage. I would watch that giant mesh swap out for the new mesh that has the hole in it, right?
Yeah.
And that would be kind of how you would do destruction. Nowadays, what we're looking at is, you know, and what's going to be shown in the video is something that is more indicative of real destruction, right? Where you have impact physics and, you know, where the projectile hits the target or where the skill hits the target, actually
that's
destruction
where that-
occurs.
And where you make the hole is where the hole is.
Yes.
And then when you could like climb up and grapple and go into that hole,
Right.
like that kind of stuff.
And at that
yeah.
point, there's no like states at which, you know, you're ensuring, you know, accessibility becomes a certain way. Instead, it's much more fluid, representative of
Organic.
real organic kind of destruction, where the players can, you know, focus their attacks on a particular area and perhaps open a small tunnel, you know, through earlier than they might have been able to should it be a hit point system, right? It's kind of, it'll be unique based on the battle, too.
Right.
Like, that's kind of the idea.
And I guess just to answer questions, a follow-up question to that I'm sure people will have is in regards to the destruction, the entire node can be destroyed, right? And like people can siege and destroy the node, and then they can also destroy freeholds that are in the area.
So the idea behind sieging is
I think
that
we talked about it a bit.
we've talked about it a bit, but just a really quick recap is that when a siege period gets declared, you know, there's a period of time for the defender and attackers to prepare post-declaration, and then there's the siege itself. During the siege, yes, buildings can be destroyed. They can be targeted. Let's say the attackers are going to, you know, they've decided that they're going to lose the siege. They're not going to win. So what instead they've decided to do is shift their focus on destroying
Scorched
essential
earth.
buildings, basically. Scorched earth kind of strategy. If we can't, you know, have it, then neither can you kind of thing. Now it'll take time to repair. There's certain mechanics that are available post siege where the city can rebuild. It can, you know, put resources and materials back into those buildings, and they'll become reconstruction sites.
Really similar to the building.
Similar to the building mechanic. They'll use the same kind of tech. And until it's reconstructed, services will be disabled, NPCs won't be available. You know, it'll hinder the growth of that city per se. This is one of the mechanisms that we want to grant players to prevent the progression of nodes, you know, especially if they're competing with, let's say, another node or something. And then with regards to freeholds can only be attacked and destroyed should the node lose the siege. So if a node loses the siege, there's a period of time within that node's zone of influence, its purview, its territorial purview, where freeholds that exist out in the territories, they become vulnerable for a number of hours. And players can defend their freehold, and freeholds have hit points, and the individual buildings on the freeholds have hit points and whatnot, similar to the node. And then once that period of time is complete, those number of hours are done, the freehold becomes invulnerable again. Now, that freehold doesn't exist any longer under potentially under a village or higher node because its node was destroyed. There will be a grace period of a number of probably up to, depending on the size of the node that it was previously under, up to 2 weeks where a new node could spawn and they could again be under the purview of a node and be okay. If not, then the freehold will disappear. They'll save their interior decor items and they'll get the schematics back. They'll get a portion of the materials back and they'll be able to go lay their freehold down on a new node.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to save their layout of decor as well.
Yeah, because I think some people were asking, like, can I just own a freehold out in the middle of nowhere? Can I be a hermit?
You cannot be a hermit.
Yeah,
you have to be a part of society.
You're not allowed to be a hermit.
Can somebody be a hermit?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
In the middle of
no
nowhere? Oh, no. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
that's what my follow-up thing
You could be in
was.
the middle of nowhere, though, in a node.
Our next question is also kind of relevant to this. Instead of the sieging, it's when a stage increases, and this is from Akumara198 asking, how are you going to deal with the updating node level from a town into a city in real time when the MMO is live? So I think a lot of people have actually been asking, like, what is this going to look like? So I have a city, and now I have a town, and now it's going to be built into a city. Does this happen like this, or are things slowly building? Do walls get taken? Like, how does it look to a player, right?
Currently, the way it works in
It's all real time.
yeah, it's all real time. Currently, if you're in, let's say, the node and it advances,
It just
it checks. So first, the system checks: are you in a spot that is collision?
Is it bad?
Is it a bad spot? If you are, the system will move you to a safe area, and then the node will spawn. Now, what we'd like to do before we get into probably Alpha 2 is we'd like to convert that process into something that's a little bit more organic.
And more cinematic feeling.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right. So it makes sense, like, maybe there's, builders start to appear and, like, construction sites go up, and it's maybe over a period of an hour or 2 hours that this, city becomes built,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah, but right now it's pretty
now it's like
instant.
that.
Yeah, and it doesn't there's no lag or anything.
No, there's
like
not.
it just
No
happens.
lag.
It's a good
it's
system.
weird.
Yeah, it's a very good system.
We've got Pod6 Gaming wanting to know, how much customization will there be for the inside of the home? Pictures, tables, vases, rugs, decorations, and will they all be crafted or looted? Ooh, I like
A
that.
little bit of the above,
Yeah.
yeah. But there will be some things that you must go hunt for, and there will be some things that you can craft, and there will be some recipes that you'll have to hunt for.
Yes.
But
Can
we
make
want to
a
have
rug.
we want to have a whole variety of stuff that you can, when we talk about EQ2, right?
Yeah.
Their housing system was fantastic, and there was so much stuff
just
to be able to well, yeah, that's it. There's so much stuff to kind of populate a house with, and really be creative. And we want to make sure that ability to be creative is something that you guys have.
I mean,
right?
One of the favorite systems that I played, and a lot of you guys know I played this game, I played Arcade, right?
Yeah, I liked it.
And I loved the housing decor system in Arcade. I thought it was cool. Great.
Shoxer22 asking, are there any buffs or advantages for having a house/building? And kind of, not buffs, but advantages, kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Because you can do stuff.
in order to be a successful processor, right? You're going to want to have some kind of industry on your freehold, right? And the freehold is what kind of allows you to do those things efficiently, right? So that's a big part of that. You will also, when we talk about, if you want to run an inn and you want to serve some food there,
Yes.
and that inn has kind of an area of influence around it. And if you go hunting, you eat some food in the inn, you go out and have hunting, you get this inn influence.
You have to
and
cook stuff
That's one of the
to be able
key
to sell,
business mechanics, actually, is that area buff that comes with particular business establishments on freeholds. Taverns are one example that we've used, and that food that you just described, giving a buff when in proximity to that freehold. So if you're hunting in an area, your real estate location is actually something in the game.
Right.
Yeah, that exists.
And then also, in terms of, if you have a freehold, that means you're a citizen, right? And if you're a citizen, you get certain advantages over other people who are a part of that node. So, yeah, I mean, it gives you all sorts of stuff.
I see
It's not just cosmetic.
someone in chat named Cameron. Oh, Cameron.
Cameron. All right, we got a few more here. I think we've got 3 more, and we'll try to get through these. Unknown System Error wants to know, since freehold skins were part of the package, how will those integrate into the new plan? I think we already talked about that, which is...
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the cosmetics you buy are of its own thing. They're a package deal. So you're not going to be able to necessarily customize those things. It's just the other kind of more generic,
So
generified,
you would put that on a
non-monetized
building,
stuff.
and then it would now look like that. Our next question is from Risky Move. Wants to know, buildings usually are located next to roads. Do you already have plans on how a node road network will be made? Going deeper into this, is there any plan on how to connect different nodes with roads?
Yes. No, roads are a fun, difficult to solve problem that we have a good plan for. Where you have a node, there is no roads by itself, right? You got another node over here, and it's like, okay, there's a road, there's a node there. I'm going to, it's, let's say, a level 3 node. I'll get a little dirt path, right? And as the nodes upgrade, that path upgrades too. And as more nodes kind of grow around it, that network creates roads between there.
We even have a system for bridges too. So if there's a river or waterway in between, it'll create a bridge too.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we do have a plan for roads. We think roads are important. It's kind of like one of the fundamental things that civilization provides to the world is linking up different communities, right? And the idea that, you know, all roads lead to Rome is a very classical
And roads also have a very specific mechanic when it comes to traversal for caravans specifically, right? And caravans have systems in place that allow them to be better not road friendly if need be.
Right.
And that's kind of the more frontiersy kind of caravans that you'll probably
So you
have
choose your caravan based on like the path that you're going
Exactly.
to take.
You know, if you're running a path from metropolis to metropolis, you're going to have these perfect roads the entire way. You may choose not to incorporate the specific material, the specific
Like off-roading material.
wheel recipes for that caravan per se. You might focus then again on, like, you know, armor for the highwaymen that you may encounter.
because you know you're going to be on a road, and those highwaymen
Your
know
goal
you're
will
going to
be
be
speed,
there.
right?
Right.
Speed and armor.
and buff. Yeah.
I'm also really excited for whenever we do start adding like the little details of when a node is building up to the next stage, seeing little road workers like on the street. Oh, it's so cute. Now we've got our last question here from Twitch chat, which is from Liat, and they want to know, how are you going to prevent every square inch of the map covered by freeholds? We're aware you played ArcAge and you've seen the housing development areas and how they can be a Tetris nightmare.
Oh yeah.
How will freeholds look in Ashes?
You know,
there are a lot of games who've done that.
Part of the reason why I wanted to avoid having designated housing areas was because of that Tetris ugliness that just existed in these like track home developments in ArcAge, right? That was really not good. So, you know, from the onset, you know, the idea was to make it more freehold.
Well done, Steven.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll be here all day. No, I'm just kidding.
So, I mean, and the reason for that is because obviously we want it to be more incorporated in the environment, more immersive in that sense. So 480 square kilometers for a map is relatively large. I mean, it's a big area available. So there's going to be considerable space between freeholds, I believe. But if people want to place their freeholds together with friends and whatnot, you know, they'll be able to do that, and perhaps a little hamlet will form. You know,
Right.
And that's kind of cool. Yeah, exactly.
And also keep in mind that freeholds need a node to live. So not every square inch of the world cannot be filled with freeholds, because there will be some designated wilderness areas based on what nodes have developed.
Yeah, because there can only be 5 metropolises too. Keep that in mind.
And if people, you know, purposefully construct their freeholds to look ugly and abrasive, then a giant sandal will just come out of the sky and smash the house and then move on. I'm just kidding.
Now I kind of want GMs to have a giant.
I'm going to drop the sandal on you.
We have talked about every patch hiding a sandal somewhere, though.
We have every patch hidden a sandal somewhere.
This is
true.
Even in Apocalypse, and no one has found the sandal. Yet. Also, I have a question regarding, just a follow up. So, in the Underrealm, can people build freeholds there too? Since there can be 5.
If there's nodes down there.
Yes.
Nodes. Okay. Cool. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed our live stream. We have a lot of good fun with this. And I guess kind of wrapping things up, thank you from all of us, and thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys
Have a
next
good
time.
one.
And that's all the stuff pertaining to housing that I could find in the live cast. I tried to edit it down as much as possible and stay out of the way, but here we are, 39 minutes. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching. I don't have